Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
Hare Krishna! Thank you so much everyone for coming this morning. It's a beautiful kirtan. Wasn't it a nice kirtan? As the kirtan was going and everyone was dancing, I was remembering a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Krishnadas Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says, ecstatic love for Krishna makes Krishna dance, makes the devotee dance, and the ecstatic love itself also dances. All three dance together. So you can think about that in your mind, how ecstatic love also dances. And Jayagopal also dances. Haribol. So today we will sing a beautiful song to begin our discussion on the language of love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Prema Purushottam, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to give love. Srila Rupa Goswami very famously glorifies him, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, that he is just giving love for Krishna so easily, so beautifully, so powerfully. And so we will remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's two lotus feet as we sing this beautiful song by Narottam Das Thakur. So yes, please follow along with us. Start now? Yeah.
जार करने प्रवेशिला हृदय निर्मल भेल तार हृदय निर्मल भेल तार हृदय निर्मल भेल तार हृदय निर्मल गौरांगेर नाम लय तार হয় প্রেম দান হে গৌরাঙ্গের যে গৌরাঙ্গের নাম লয় তার হয় প্রেম দান তারে মই যাই বলে হারি তারে তারে মই যাই বলে হারি তারে মই যাই গৌরাঙ্গ গুণেতে ঝুরে নিত্য লীলা তারে সুরে গৌরাঙ্গ গুণেতে ঝুরে গৌরাঙ্গ গুণেতে ঝুরে তার লীলা নিত্য সুরে গৌরাঙ্গ গুণেতে ঝুরে সে জানা ভক্তি রস সার সে জানা ভক্তি अधिकार से जाना भक्ति से जाना भक्ति अधिकार से जाना भक्ति अधिकार से जाना भक्ति গৌরাঙ্গের সঙ্গী গানে নিত্য সিদ্ধি করি মানে গৌরাঙ্গের আর গৌরাঙ্গের সঙ্গী গানে নিত্য সিদ্ধ করি মানে jai Brajendra Sutapa jai Brajendra Sri Gaura Mandala Bhumi Jeva Jane Chintamani Sri Gaura Sri Gaura Mandala Bhumi Jeva Jane Chintamani तार है ब्रज भूमि वास तार है ब्रज भूमि वास तार है ब्रज भूमि तार है ब्रज भूमि वास तार है ब्रज भूमि वास तार गौरांग प्रेम रसर्न बेसे तरंग जे डूबे गौरांग प्रेम गौर प्रेम रसर्न बेसे तरंग जे डूबे राधा माधव अंतरंग राधा माधव राधा माधव अंतरंग राधा माधव गृहे बाबने ते थाको गौरांग बोले डाको गृहे बाबने ते गृहे बाबने ते थाको गौरांग बोले डाको गृहे बाबने ते नरोत्तम मागे तार संग नरोत्तम मागे तार नरोत्तम मागे तार संग जय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय गौर निताय निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद पावन गुरनिताय की गौतमानंद
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Srila Prabhupada ki. So we're here on this Thursday morning, and we will continue discussing the language of love. So over these days we've been discussing different personalities from the Chaitanya Charitamrita who really exhibit pure devotional service but giving us unique characteristics. We heard about Madhavendra Puri and how in Madhavendra Puri's deep desire to serve Sri Gopal, he was willing to overcome any obstacles. He was immune to all impediments. Praghada premera e swabhavachar nija dukha vigna dira na kore vichar. Na kore vichar, there's no consideration. It doesn't even come into the mind. There's not even, in English they would say, a blink of an eyelid. It's relentless service, because the pain of not serving Krishna far outweighs any pain or difficulty or obstacle occurred in service to Krishna. And therefore the devotee just relentlessly goes on. So like this, we are meditating. How much have we developed this, and how can we develop this? Because love means it's unstoppable. Srila Prabhupada would say, quoting Bhagavatam, Ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati, that Bhakti has to be apratihata, uninterrupted. Then the next day we discuss Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is in the Gambhira and who is offering his final outpourings. And in the Shikshashtakam, he very, very beautifully mentions how we should take this verse to be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes this verse, then he says, Sune sune sarva lok, raising my hands and shouting again, take this verse and string it on the thread of the holy name and wear it around your neck constantly. It is said that he says, I'm shouting this and raising my hands. So someone may consider, why is he raising his hands? Why is that so significant? Because it's said that when he says this, that we should take this verse, he's raising his hands because he's trying to catch the attention of as many people as possible. So if someone is far in the distance, then still they will see, oh, someone is saying something. He wants as many people to know that dainya and humility are nourishing each other. Without dainya, there is no prema. And with prema comes deeper and deeper dainya. And therefore, love is spiraling to unlimited depths, because the humility is always impelling the bhakta to give more and more of their heart. You see, that is the point. When the heart is humble, then the devotee is impelled to keep on giving more of themselves. And when the devotee is impelled to keep giving more of themselves, then Krishna is impelled to give more of himself. Therefore he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. But then there were some devotees who gave so much of themselves that Krishna said, you made me contradict my words. Because I said I will reward you accordingly for your surrender. But then the gopis gave everything. And then Krishna said, Napare ham niravadya samyujam susadu krityam vibudayusha piva. I can't repay you. You've made me contradict my words. So the second language of love is that humility is so much a part of prema. Premera svabhava yaha premera sambandh say mane Krishna mora nahi prema gandh. That the svabhav of prema is that one thinks nahi prema gandh. I don't have any love for Krishna. So there are so many other languages of love, but we only have this final session. So I was thinking, which of the languages shall I share with you? So I picked one. I hope it will be useful for you and inspiring for you. And this language of love appears in the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a very, the first few chapters are very, very explosive, because it's where all the Panchatattva are coming together. And the language of love that I want to share with you today is that love means service. Love is not just a feeling, love is not just a sentiment, love is not just a disposition of mind, but love means service. The devotee will be willing to do more and more. Srila Prabhupada said, I want to spread Krishna consciousness more and more unlimitedly, more and more, to go above and beyond. So this is what we will discuss today. This verse appears in the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the chapter number 6, where Advaita Acharya and his identity is being described. Advaita Acharya, perhaps of the Panchatattva, is the embodiment of Seva Bhav. Although he appeared 52 years prior to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he understands that the goal of life, the only goal of life, is to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is said to be in Shantipur dancing, saying, Chaitanyera dasamui, Chaitanyera das, Chaitanyera dasamui, dasiranu das. He's saying, I'm a servant of Mahaprabhu, I'm a servant of Mahaprabhu, I'm a servant of the servants of Mahaprabhu. Here we see it was his service that brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this world, because one day he was in Shantipur observing the effects of Kali Yuga, and he was thinking, what will happen? How will it happen? What is the solution? And then it said that one day he was reading the Gautamiya Tantra, and in the Gautamiya Tantra he came across one verse, Tulasi dalamatrena jalasya chulukainava vikrinite svamatmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktajana priya. And in this verse he read, Tulasi dalamatrena, if you offer some tulsi to Vishnu, jalasya chulukainava, and some Ganga jal, vikrinite svamatmanam, the Lord sells himself to such a person who offers with devotion, and he becomes conquered. So therefore this is what he began doing. To his Shaligram Shila he began offering tulsi leaves and Ganga jal, and it said Hunkar, he was calling out with roar that Mahaprabhu should descend to the world. And so Advaita Acharya descends, and Advaita Acharya and Mahaprabhu's relationship is very unique because, as I said, he is senior to Mahaprabhu, but he always wants to be the servant. There's a beautiful pastime in the Chaitanya Bhagava where Advaita Acharya forces Mahaprabhu to take the superior position. Because Mahaprabhu did not want to take the superior position, because Advaita Acharya was not just senior by birth, but Advaita Acharya was the disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And Mahaprabhu's own spiritual master was Ishvara Puri, also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So he saw Advaita Acharya on the same level. But one day, Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip and he heard in the grapevine a rumor. He thought, no, this can't be true. But no, everyone was saying it. It reached his ears. And what did he hear? In Shantipur, there are discourses going on in the home of Advaita Acharya, and the discourses are on Yoga Vasistha, Mayavad philosophy. So Mahaprabhu said, Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, speaking Mayavad. He thought, this can't be true. Immediately in that moment when he heard that Advaita Acharya was speaking Mayavad, he jumped into the Ganga, it said in Chaitanya. He swam down and arrived in Shantipur. And as soon as he arrived in Shantipur, he went to the temple of Advaita Acharya. And there, sure enough, Advaita Acharya was on the dais, on the Vyasasana, lecturing. And so he came in, and as he was lecturing, Mahaprabhu walked in. He walked straight up to Advaita Acharya, faced Advaita Acharya, and he said, I have one question for you. What is higher, bhakti or gyan? And Advaita Acharya looked at Mahaprabhu in the eyes. Gyan. And Mahaprabhu went into a transcendental ecstasy. Nishinga Chaitanya also has that mood. And he pulled Advaita Acharya, remember, who was 52 years older than him, and he pulled him off the Vyasasana like Krishna pulled Kamsa down from the balcony. He pulled Advaita Acharya off the Vyasasana. You are not qualified to sit on the Vyasasana. Pulled him off, but that wasn't it. He started beating him. And as he started beating Advaita Acharya, Mahaprabhu was in... Now this scene is incredible because Mahaprabhu is in transcendental anger. Advaita Acharya is in transcendental ecstasy because now Mahaprabhu is treating him as a junior. It's said that behind Advaita Acharya is Sita Devi. And Sita Devi is crying. She's like, you're going to kill him. And behind Sita Devi is Nityananda Prabhu and he's dancing. And behind Nityananda Prabhu is Haridas Thakur and he's chanting his rounds. So it's a very, very beautiful scene in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. I specifically like this scene very, very much because it really shows the individuality in Mahaprabhu's Leela. That all of them are beautifully adding to the flavor of their Leela, but bringing their own individuality forth. And in this way, the interaction is becoming very, very beautiful. So Advaita Acharya, he just wanted to be the servant of Mahaprabhu. And he embodies this Seva Bhav. So this is the definition of prema that is given in the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the chapter of Advaita Acharya. So you can please repeat after me. Krishna premera eka purva prabhav. Krishna premera eka apurva prabhav. Guru samu lagu ke karaya dasya bhav. Guru sama lagu ke karaya dasya bhav. Krishna premere eka purva prabhav. Guru sama lagu ke karaya dasya bhav. Love for Krishna has this one unique effect. It's interesting, Kaviraj, he often says this. This is the one characteristic. This is the one natural effect, he's saying many times. This is also the one unique effect. It imbues superiors, equals, and inferiors with the spirit of service to Lord Krishna. Love means service. This is Srila Prabhupada's purport. There are two kinds of devotional service, the way of Pancharatrika regulative principles and the way of Bhagavat transcendental loving service. The love of Godhead of those engaged in Pancharatrika regulative principles depends more or less on the opulent and reverential platform, but the worship of Radha and Krishna is purely on the platform of transcendental love. Even persons who play as the superiors of Krishna also take the chance to offer transcendental loving service to the Lord. The service attitude of the devotees who play the part of superiors of the Lord is very difficult to understand, but it can be very plainly understood in connection with the super excellence of their particular service to Lord Krishna. A vivid example is the service of Mother Yashoda to Krishna, which is distinct. In the feature of Narayan, the Lord can accept services only from his associates who play parts in which they are equal to or less than him. But in the feature of Lord Krishna, he accepts service very plainly from his fathers, teachers, and other elders who are his superiors, as well as from his equals and his subordinates. This is very wonderful. Srila Prabhupada ki. So yes, here Srila Prabhupada is explaining that when the devotees in Vaikuntha worship Vishnu, then generally there are a section of devotees who are servants, those who are in the Dasya Bhav, those who are seeing Vishnu in a very reverential way. But Srila Prabhupada says in Vrindavan, everyone is imbued with the spirit of service, whether it be Krishna's servants, whether it be Krishna's friends, his parents, his lovers. Underlying everything they do, impelling everything they do, is the mood of service. And Srila Prabhupada in this way is teaching us that devotion means service. Srila Prabhupada also taught that in his life. His Grace Shrutakirti Prabhu tells the story of how he was obviously the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada, and often he would travel with Srila Prabhupada, and there would be ecstatic meetings at the airports where the devotees would come to greet Srila Prabhupada. And often he would be walking with Srila Prabhupada into the greeting party, and the devotees would be singing, dancing, jumping. Some of them would faint, expressing all kinds of emotions. And one time after such a reception, then Shrutakirti said to Srila Prabhupada while massaging him, Srila Prabhupada, they have so much love for you. But I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I have tears in my eyes, like I'm falling on the ground, like I have so much ecstasy. I don't have their love. So that was a humbling feeling for Shrutakirti Prabhu. And then we know the famous reply of Srila Prabhupada, who paused for some time and then asked Shrutakirti Prabhu, but do you like to serve me? And Srila Prabhupada, Shrutakirti Prabhu said, yes, Prabhupada, I love to serve you. Then Prabhupada said, then that is love. Love means to serve. It's a practical, anushilanam. It's a cultivation of activity. Srila Prabhupada also writes this in the preface of the Nectar of Instruction. So Srila Prabhupada is very interesting. When he translated Bhakti, he always translated it as devotional service. He was always stressing the practical side of devotion. He said that once Srila Prabhupada would often go out for morning walks, and there was one devotee who, when Srila Prabhupada would come out for morning walks, he would recite many verses from the Bhagavatam to glorify Srila Prabhupada. And on one such occasion, Srila Prabhupada came out and then he started with a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam. As Srila Prabhupada came, he said, Tvam nasandarshito dhatra nishtiram nistitam dushtaram. How does that verse go? Tvam nasandarshito dhatra dustaram nistitir shatam kalim sattva haram pumsham karnadhara ivarnavam. So he said this verse, as Srila Prabhupada came out, he said, we think we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as the captain of our ship in order to cross across the ocean of material existence. Srila Prabhupada looked at him, looked at the devotee and said, why doesn't he do something practical? So that was like humbling. So yes, to do something practical for Krishna. So this is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada, he would always translate devotion as devotional service. In His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj's PhD thesis on Srila Prabhupada, he explains that there are different mahavakyas, or different great utterances that Srila Prabhupada gave to the world. One of them was Krishna consciousness, which as we know is a translation of Rupa Goswami's verse, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. And then Srila Prabhupada's other great Mahavakya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like, we had not heard of the Godhead generally before, very in one sense archaic term, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once I was on the street distributing books and someone said, no, I get your magazine all the time. God to Backhead. I said, God to Backhead? Oh, yeah, back to Godhead. Because Godhead, no, people don't really, they don't get that term, you know. So it was sweet. And then the other Mahavakya of Srila Prabhupada is devotional service. And when Tamal Krishna Maharaj was doing his research for this, like where did Srila Prabhupada get this from, he was looking and he saw that really, in the book he writes that there was one other person who used the term devotional service, that was a scholar in the Vallabha line. And so he contacted this scholar of the Vallabha line and he said, when you talk about devotional service, which word are you translating? And he said, seva. So he said even he was not translating bhakti as devotional service, he was translating seva as devotional service. But Srila Prabhupada, he translated bhakti practically everywhere as devotional service. If you do a search on Veda-based, and the term devotional service hits about 10,000 times. Srila Prabhupada just said it again and again. But here is the Shastric Praman that when Srila Prabhupada translated bhakti as devotional service, because some people raise an objection to this. This is actually the Shastric Praman that it's actually a very, very chaste definition. Bhaj ityesha vaidhatu sevayam parikirtita tasmat seva buddhe prokta bhakti sadhana bhuyashi. This is from the Garuda Puran. Bhaj as a root is used to convey service. Therefore the wise, the Buddha, the wise explain that engaging in the Lord's service is the way of bhakti. So in this way, it's explained that yes, devotional service. So the basic identity of a devotee is to practically serve Krishna. There's also a story in the Sri Sampradaya of Parashara Bhatt was the disciple, the successor of Ramanujacharya. And it said that once someone came to him and said, what is a Vaishnav? So he said, if you want the answer, why are you asking me? You should go to Tirumala Hills. On the peaks of Tirumala Hills are so many great devotees. There's one great devotee there, Anantacharya, he will tell you. So now you have to understand that from where they were to Tirumala Hills, that was 1,000 miles away. Now, I don't know how many of us to get a question answered would go 1,000 miles away, but this Vaishnav did. And he walked 1,000 miles away. He arrived at Tirumala Hills. He came and he received the audience of Ananta Acharya. And as he saw Ananta Acharya, he thought, now I better seize my opportunity. And he asked Ananta Acharya, who is a Vaishnav? Just as he asked that question, it was time for Tadya Radhanam, they call it in the Sri Vaishnav Sampradaya. Tadya Radhanam means prasadam time, service to the Vaishnav, serve the devotees, prasadam time. So he said, it's prasadam time. So everyone came into the hall, they sat down, and the Guru didn't answer, Anantacharya didn't say anything, so this Vaishnav thought, okay, let me sit down, take prasad, and then maybe after. So he sat down, and as he sat down, Anantacharya looked at him and said, no, get up and serve. So, okay. So then he served, everyone was served, everyone exited, then the next batch came in. And then as the next batch came in, he then sat down. Anantacharya looked at him and said, no, get up, serve. So he served. Now in India, you may have noticed in India in the prasadam halls, there seems to be an unlimited supply of individuals who are ready to take prasadam. So by the time the second one came out, the third one came in, he was told to serve again. Like this, it happened multiple times. Anyway, finally, everything was done. He came back to Anantacharya. What is a Vaishnav? Anantacharya said, a Vaishnav is a crane, a cock, and salt. That was his answer. Then he said, again? Yeah, that's what the Vaishnava said to Anantacharya, I think. Again? Come again? He said a Vaishnav is a crane, a cock, male chicken, and salt. So that was it. There was no other explanation. He thought, I traveled 1,000 miles for this? So he thought what to do. He traveled 1,000 miles back. He came to Parashara Bhatt. So Parashara said, so you got your answer? He said, I got something. I don't know if it was an answer or not. Parashara said, so what did he say? He said, Vaishnav is a crane, a cock, and a salt. And Parashara started smiling. He was beaming. And he said, you don't understand? He said, no. He said, a Vaishnav is like a crane. You see these cranes, they fly high in the sky. So he said, just like a crane is flying high, the Vaishnav flies high in the skies of Bhakti. Just like the crane is white and beautiful, the Vaishnav has a heart which is as clean as the skin of a crane. And just as the crane, they do not go down for the small fishes, they just go down for the big fishes. So the Vaishnav doesn't concern themselves with irrelevant, unimportant, fleeting matters of the material world, but just goes in for the essence. Wow. He said, what is a... And then he said, yes, a Vaishnav is like a cock, because these... they go to a filthy place, and somehow they find some grains there. And with those grains, they then take those grains and they also feed their children. So he said the Vaishnava is like this, in this filthy world, in this world which is full. Kaler dosha nidhei rajan. In this world which is full of contamination, they somehow find items which they can serve Krishna with. And therefore Vaishnava is known as Sara Grahi, one who can grasp the essence. And then the Vaishnava looked at him and he said, and salt? Salt? Parashara, I said, yes. When you cook, can you cook without salt? Without salt, everything is tasteless. Therefore, the Vaishnava is like salt, because without the influence of a Vaishnava, nothing works. Without the presence of a Vaishnava, nothing happens. Actually, when Krishna swallowed the forest fire. One commentator, Haridas, one commentator, he asked the question, why did Krishna swallow the fire through his mouth? It's an interesting question. Why did Krishna swallow the fire through his mouth? He could have done it in many ways. He could have extinguished the fire in many ways. Why is it significant that he swallowed the fire? And his commentary is this, that in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis of the anarthas, what does the forest fire represent? Does anyone remember? Quarrels, intercommunal discord, arguments between devotees. And he says that the reason why Krishna swallowed the forest fire is because the mouth represents the brahmanas. Because Krishna says, I eat through the mouth of the brahmanas, and the brahmanas give knowledge, and from the mouths of the brahmanas, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chitete Koriya Aikya, from the lotus mouth, the words are coming. So the mouth represents the brahmanas. So this commentator says the reason why Krishna swallowed the fire was to teach the world that unless there are Vaishnavas, Brahmanas in a community, there will always be quarrel. Because it's only the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas that can bring people together, because their saintliness transcends our conditionings. Anyway, so like this, he said a Vaishnava is like salt. They sacrifice their existence. Salt is very, very humble. Whenever the prasadam is very, very tasty, have you ever heard someone say, the salt was just perfect? But the moment the salt is not there, everyone will say, where is the salt? So Vaishnava is like that, in the back, humble, does not advertise themselves. If Krishna brings them to that position, then they accept it as Krishna's plan, but otherwise, no need, no agenda. So like this, very, very beautiful. A Vaishnava is like salt. Their life is for seva, for service. So we are kind of meditating a little bit on this, that devotional service is ultimately our main consideration in the Krishna consciousness movement. In one beautiful letter, Prabhupada writes, we should try to do something for Krishna. We want a certificate from Krishna that this person has done something for me. So we want to try to do some seva for Krishna, some devotional service. I just share a few thoughts with you. This could go on very long, but just to give you some taste of service, and then I'll open it up. In the end of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev, while instructing Devahuti, gives a breakdown of devotional service. This is very, very practical. He explains to Devahuti that devotional service can be in the three modes of material nature. That when we come forth in the Krishna consciousness movement to serve Krishna practically, then it can be in one of the three modes of material nature, and then obviously there is nirguna bhakti, which is beyond the three modes. So he very, very beautifully describes what are these different modes of devotional service. But it's very interesting, in Bhavarta Deepika, Sridhar Swami says it's very, very logical, the narration of the Bhagavatam, when you look closely. Because at the end of the third canto, Kapila explains to Devahuti devotional service in ignorance, passion, and goodness. And then the next three pastimes of the Bhagavatam depict ignorance, passion, and goodness. Because the first pastime in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam is, anyone remember? The story of, we were doing it the other day, Daksha and Sati. So that, Sridhar Swami says, represents devotional service in the mode of ignorance, because Daksha is expert. He knows mantra, tantra, visharada. He knows how to do so many activities. But still in his devotional service there is a violent, angry, envious mentality. and therefore devotional service in ignorance. The second pastime of the fourth canto is? What happens after the Daksha pastime? Anyone remember? Dhruva, yes. And Dhruva represents devotional service in the mode of passion, isn't it? Later on in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, there's a very beautiful verse. He says, Stana bilasi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva munidra guyam kacham vichinvan api divya ratnam svamin kirtarthos mivaram nayache. He said, Stana abhilas, I had a desire to have a kingdom greater than my great-grandfather. And for that end, tapasi stito, I situated myself in tapasya. After I situated myself in tapasya, the Lord appeared before me. Tvam praptavan, I got the Lord. Deva munidra guyam, which even the devas and the munis don't get to see the Lord. I saw the Lord. And as soon as I saw the Lord and the Lord touched me with his conch shell, then I realized, Kacham vichinvan, I was searching for broken glass, api divya ratnam, and now I have attained a beautiful, priceless jewel. Svamin kritartho smivaram nayache. Now I don't desire anything else. But he started in passion. He really wanted something. So then, this is devotional service in passion. And then after Dhruva's pastime, what is the very next pastime? Does anyone remember? Prithu, exactly. And Prithu represents devotional service in goodness. Because Prithu is doing all of these Ashvamedha Yagyas, all the horse sacrifices, to purify himself, and then we know who comes to disturb the 100th sacrifice. And Prithu later on is detached. He lets it go. It doesn't matter. So therefore, devotional service in goodness for purification in a spirit of detachment is represented by Prithu. This is very, very beautiful, because this shows that the Bhagavatam, the Shastra, everything is very, very logical. Everything is very, very deliberate. Everything has a... sometimes we read Shastra and it feels like it's a little bit all over the place. But what Shastra is doing is expertly entering in and teaching us things this way and that way, maneuvering. It's like a Sankirtan devotee. If you ever meet a Sankirtan, it's so interesting watching Sankirtan devotees on the street trying to distribute a book to someone, because they go round and round. Like, oh, how are you? And what's your name? And do you do yoga? No, I don't do yoga. Okay, no problem. No, I don't do yoga either. But you know, sometimes we get stressed. Yeah, stress. Okay, let's go here. So they go round and round, and you think, where is this person going with this? But it's a strategy to ultimately enter and to penetrate. Like Srila Prabhupada was like that with the racing car driver. He met him, and he was talking about cars, and he was talking about, driving and the speed, and devotees were thinking, my God, when's the Krishna Katha coming in here, And I said, oh, very fast, yes. And sometimes there's a crash. Crash. And then there's death. Okay, that was the entrance point. Death, what happens there? So the Shastra is very, very beautiful, because the Shastra is Krishna's living theology, how he is trying to penetrate our mind. And this knowledge, I would encourage all of us to really deeply understand. Srila Prabhupada says, devotional service in the modes of ignorance, passion and goodness can be divided into 81 categories. Now the first thing when we read this is we think, where did 81 come from? There are different devotional activities such as hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, offering prayer, rendering service and surrendering everything, and each one of them can be divided into 3 qualitative categories. Okay, so there's 9 processes and there's 3 modes. Okay, 9 times 3 is 27. There is hearing in the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness. Similarly, there is chanting in the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. 3 multiplied by 9 equals 27. And when again multiplied by 3, it becomes 81. One has to transcend all such mixed materialistic devotional service in order to reach the standard of pure devotional service. I just put this in red because it's interesting. Srila Prabhupada says 3 multiplied by 9 equals 27. So that's clear. The 3 modes multiplied by the 9 processes of devotional service makes 27. And then Prabhupada writes, and when again multiplied by 3. So the natural thought in the mind comes is that what's that other 3? Right? Anyone have any ideas? Yes? The 3 modes mixed again? Yeah, that's what people generally say. That could be an explanation. This is why commentaries are so beautiful, because commentaries actually also give us different insights. So in Bhavarta Deepika, the way that Sridhar Swami explains this other 3 is he says that when Kapila Dev is explaining, and I'll show you the verses, each mode, within the mode there are actually different categories. So for example, this is how Kapila Dev describes devotional service in ignorance. Abhisandhaya yo himsam dambam matsyaryameva va samrambhi binadrik bhavam mai kuryat satamasaha. So what he says is actually there are 3 levels. Within ignorance, there are 3 broad categories of devotional service in ignorance. Himsam, violent and angry. Dambam, proud. Proud and envious, matsarya. Yeah. So that's where you get the 81 from, because in each of these, this is devotional service in passion. Vishayan abhisandhaya yasha aishvaryameva va archada varchayed yomam pritag bhava sarajasaha. Devotional service in the mode of passion can be for material enjoyment, for fame, and for opulence. They're distinct categories, Sridhar Swami says. And when he comes to goodness, he says, Karma nirharam uddisya parasmin vatadarpanam yajad yastavyam iti va pritag bhava sasatvikaha. So here he also says there are 3. Karma nirharam, to get rid of your karma. Tadarpanam, done as a dutiful offering of worship. And yajet, done for purification of the consciousness, yagya. So basically, these are, and Sridhar Swami says one is higher than the other. So the lowest type of devotional service is devotional service in the mode of ignorance, specifically the type of devotional service which is performed with violence towards other living beings. We see this in the world today. Like, for example, some people who think that it's a great act of devotion to God to, blow themselves up and blow up innocent people at the same time. So Krishna says that is devotional service in the lowest mode of ignorance, with violence. So this is very then what basically happens is if you take the 9 processes of devotional service and you take these 9 bhavas, then 9 times 9 equals 81. And that's where Prabhupada gets the number 81 from in the purport. So it's very, because sometimes Srila Prabhupada will just say things and everything like, where's that from? So that's why it kind of helps to see that what Srila Prabhupada was drawing from was the commentaries. So this is very powerful. You can take any of these processes of devotional service and you can see how they can be done in different ways. But then ultimately, what our acharyas are telling us is that we have to perform nirguna bhakti. But what helps us to perform nirguna bhakti is to understand when our service is tainted by the modes and how we're able to identify that kind of saguna bhakti or contaminated devotional service with material quality. And so like this, the Shastra is very, very powerful because it doesn't just inspire us to do devotional service, but what it helps us to do is it gives us a mirror by which we can then look at our devotional service and say, oh yes, himsa, or Aishvaryam, oh I can see that, how I'm doing deity worship, but I'm looking for this, and like that. Or I'm chanting, but I'm like this. So this is very, very beautiful. So many more things to say on service. Today I'm just trying to share with you some ideas that love is active, love is a reciprocation of practical demonstration of one's feeling for Krishna by actually doing something for Krishna. And so we also will be able to identify that where devotees have love, there is a deep desire to serve. Without service, their life is useless. We had actually one pujari at the manor, very, very wonderful devotee, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Jivapati Prabhu. And for 4 decades he served Radha Gokulananda. They counted once how many Mangala it was a phenomenal number. So he just, that's what he dedicated his life to. What happened at the end of his life is he was taken to Watford General, to the hospital close by. He had, I can't exactly remember, illness. So the devotees would come in to visit him, and it was torture for him naturally, for any devotee, not be able to do his service. But then what happened is one day one devotee came in the evening, and Jivapati Prabhu was looking extra despondent. And the devotee was speaking to him, and he said, what's the problem? And Jivapati Prabhu said, the doctor came today, and the doctor said there's maybe a chance that I can come out of hospital. So the devotee said, that's wonderful, wonderful news. And then Jivapati Prabhu said, but then he told me that even if I come out of hospital, I will not be able to do my service, what I was doing. And then he was very affected by that. And then he just became quiet. Then he did not say anything more. And then finally the devotee left. And what ended up happening is that the very next day he left his body. And so the devotee was thinking, in one sense he lost his hunger for life, because life means for service. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says like that employ me in thy devotional service and love as my wage. So for a devotee, there's no purpose to living if you can't do something for Krishna. So his realization was that for Jivapati Prabhu, devotional service had so much become a part of him he loved devotional service. And that love for devotional service meant that when he couldn't, there was no purpose. So in this language of love, we're praying that this nature this desire to serve may become so intrinsic within us. I'll just end on the last story, this beautiful, I don't know if Srila Prabhupada tells this story, or it's the story of how there's a great saintly person and he goes to take bath. And as he goes to take bath, he sees a scorpion in the river, and the scorpion is drowning. And so what the sadhu does is he picks up the scorpion to save it from drowning. And as he picks up the scorpion, then the scorpion bites him. And so he quickly lets go. And then as he lets go, then slowly again the scorpion starts sinking. So then again he goes to pick up the scorpion, and scorpion bites him again. And then someone is watching and saying like, why are you continually picking up? And the sadhu, he says, it is the nature of the scorpion to bite, and it has become my nature to serve. Just as it cannot help biting someone else, I cannot help but serve someone else. It's very beautiful, no? That service becomes so much an intrinsic part of one's nature. And so this is the final language of love that I wanted to share with you today. I have one final video that I wanted to show with you, just to round off our discussion, just to give you a little bit of a taste of some of the other languages of bhakti, languages of love. Another language of love is that love softens the heart. This is a very, very beautiful one to explore in the future. Kaviraj Goswami, he says, Premera udaya hoy, premera vikar, shveda kampa pulukadi gadgada shrudhar. When one's transcendental loving service to the Lord is actually awakened, it generates transformations in the body such as perspiration, trembling, throbbing of the heart, faltering of the voice, and tears in the eyes. If we take a step back from these emotions of love, what is basically being taught in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is that when one actually develops love for Krishna, their heart becomes very, very soft. Our basic problem is that we have a very hard heart. Tadasmasaram hridayam batedam. Bhagavatam says a steel-framed heart. And so one can understand that they're advancing in love when the heart becomes very soft and more responsive to spiritual stimuli. So this is another time we can discuss this. Another language of love is that love steals the mind. This is very beautifully explained by Mahaprabhu to Sanatan Goswami in the Madhya. Hari Shabde Nanartha Dui Mukhyatam Sarva Mangala Hare Prema Diya Hare Man. The word Hari has many meanings. Two of them are foremost. One meaning is that the Lord takes away all the inauspicious things from his devotee. And the second meaning is that he attracts the mind by ecstatic love for God. So where there is love, then very naturally the mind will continue flowing towards Krishna. So this is also another language by which the devotees express their love. So there are many others. Time is going. And I'll just share one final thing with you. We began our little discussion on the language of love by talking about pure devotional service. Will this play, Prabhu, with sound? We'll try. With this? Okay, with the microphone. So we talked about pure devotional service. So I thought it would be just very nice and fitting to hear from Srila Prabhupada as he explains to us about the importance of love and how ultimately the language of love is the only language that Krishna responds to, and it's the only language which if we learn we can actually have a conversation with Krishna. So let's see if this will work. Many of you may have seen this before. Okay, let's see. It's a laptop speaker. Is it going to work? No? It may not be loud enough. Is there a lead to put inside? Okay, let's try. I'm not even sure where the... Okay, let's... Okay, so I'll play this.
Your jack output is broken.
Okay. So it's, I don't even know. I think this is that the speaker?
I'm not sure on your laptop, probably. Can you not put it a little louder?
That's the maximum. That's the maximum.
Okay.
Shall we play it and try? This one?
No, the wireless mic. Somebody see?
I'll play it and then you have to find.
Sorry.
Okay, ready? No? Okay, let's try. street.
Yes.
Just like Mother Ma. He was talking with Sanatana Goswami.
And you connected Bluetooth.
Mother Ma, Sanatana Goswami at that time had no temple.
Yes.
He was hanging in the tree.
Okay, that's it. Okay, maybe we have to stop this. Anyway, if we manage to find it out, we can see it later on. But this is a very, very beautiful. Srila Prabhupada is talking about how the great devotees are speaking to their deities and the language that they have developed, which allows them to have that connection with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains very beautifully. So let's see if we can come back to this later. But essentially, we have been talking just about these different languages and how the devotees express their love. So yes, let us try to remember this. Love is unstoppable. Love is humbling. Love means service. Love softens the heart. Love steals the mind. These are the kind of insights we're getting from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami as to how this love can awaken within us. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So I don't know, that like it's 9. Should we have some discussion? Yeah, a little bit of discussion. If anyone has any comments or anything they would like to. Okay, I see Jai Gopal and I see quite a few hands here. Okay, so shall we sweep like this? Go from here, go to here, and then we'll go this way. So you need the... Oh, okay. So we can watch this. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this is Srila Prabhupada. We'll just watch this. Is that? Thank you so much.
Well, there is a Bhakti Maharaj. He was talking with his deity. Krishna, just like Mother Ma. He was talking with Sanatana Goswami. Mother Ma and Sanatana Goswami at that time had no temple. He was hanging his deity on the tree. So Mother Ma was talking with him, Sanatana, you are bringing all these dry chapatis and it is stale. And don't give me even little salt. How can I eat? Sanatana Goswami says, sir, where shall I go? Whatever I get, I offer you. You kindly accept. I cannot go, old man. So Krishna had to eat that. Because the bhakta is offering, he cannot refuse. Jiman bhakti opposite. Real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got? What is your value? And what is the value of your things? It is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I applaud this thing for peace sake. This will be accepted. Don't be perturbed. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you very much.
Srila Prabhupada ki. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada brings it there, back to the essence. Love is the real thing. Bhakti is the real thing. Yes, Prabhu. Go Hari Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I was just wondering, it seems very often we put great emphasis in doing service, but sometimes devotees are doing service but without really able to connect and feeling fulfillment out of their service, and after sometimes they feel, oh, I don't get much out of it. So how do you make the switch so that in our service we can really feel this connection, that we are just not diverted by the service, but we are able to connect in our service?
Yes, it seems that two things are very, very important. And when you say service, I'm understanding you're meaning the service we do in the movement, in the temples, with our working senses. It seems that two things are very important. The first thing is the antaranga seva that one is doing along with their service in the world. In other words, one's hearing, one's chanting, that is also a service. And without that inner service to Krishna, that quality of, Srila Prabhupada says that if there is not sufficient hearing and chanting, then all of your devotional service will simply become a burden. Prabhupada says the deity has come, and then you will after some time you will think, oh, my spiritual master has left me such a burden. When actually we understand here that the greatest exchange of love is between Krishna and the deity. And if the deities are there and then we don't take the opportunity to serve, we feel it to be a burden, then it means that there's not sufficient hearing and chanting. So it seems that that's one major aspect. Our inner service to Krishna that gives a certain quality to our then practical service. And it seems also the other thing is the way we conduct ourselves when we do the practical service to Krishna. That's why the mentality that we have, the sensitivity that we have, the way we interact with others when we serve. This is why knowledge of the 81 types of bhakti is so powerful, because in that we can begin to see, oh my God, characters, behaviors, attitudes, approaches which bring our devotion. Devotional service is transcendental, but our intention can be in the modes. Therefore, when we say bhakti in the modes, sometimes it feels a little like bhakti in the modes, but it means we're in the modes and we're trying to practice bhakti. So we can, through this knowledge, understand how to refine our character, our attitude, our sensitivity, dealings with others while we're doing it, so that there's more connection. So it seems those two things are very important. Yes, and
then you mentioned the story of Dhruva Maharaj in Bhagavatam as devotional service in passion. And when you showed this, I remember that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I heard, correct me if I'm not right,
was listening to Dhruva.
Was very happy to listen to Dhruva's narration. So it seems a bit, why didn't Mahaprabhu like of an example of service in passion? Maybe you could.
Yeah, it means Dhruva Maharaj who began in the mode of passion. It's said that in Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes we explain Jagannath Puri to be the university of Raja Prem. You can see Jagannath Puri as a university. And in that university of Jagannath Puri, the university of Raja Prem, there are different classrooms. So one is the private tutorial room in the Gambhira, and one is the public classroom in the Jagannath temple. And then in the University of Raja Prem in Jagannath Puri, there are different teachers. So two of Mahaprabhu's teachers are Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. But it's also said that he is also getting tutorials from Gadadhar Pandit. And with Gadadhar Pandit, he is discussing Bhagavatam every single day. And particularly, he is discussing Dhruva and Prahlad from the Bhagavatam. There could be different lessons we learn from this, but perhaps one of the main lessons is because Dhruva represents determination and Prahlad represents faith. And these two qualities are perhaps two of the most cardinal qualities which are required for a devotee to achieve any level of spiritual realization in their life. And therefore, yes, Mahaprabhu is hearing about Dhruva Maharaj, who began with a desire, sthana abhilas, but because of his incredible determination, you see. It's like Dhruva Maharaj, when he entered Madhuvan, it said for the first 3 days, he was eating fruits only every 3 days in the first month. Then in the second month, it said he was eating leaves and roots only every 6 days. And then it said in the third month, he was drinking only water every 9 days. And by the 12th, by the next month, he was breathing air only every 12 days. So that's very interesting, because generally what happens is we start up there, and by the end of Purushottam Mas, we're like down here. Whereas with Dhruva, it was like an increasing intensity. That's a very deep point, actually, Divrena, Bhakti Yogena. So Mahaprabhu was very much appreciating that intensity and that determination of Dhruva. It's okay. There were some points here.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. I would like to just request for for you to address this reflection that I have. It's more of a perception check. That you explained how service is both simple yet scientific. It's emotion and action, and so on. And I was thinking that if I really personally reflect when I like to serve, I mean, sometimes I think I like to serve just because I like to serve, but at the same time, it's a very deep subject matter. And when we study the subject matter, we know that it's so complex. There are so many underlying things we should be conscious of. And I had also heard of how, yes, through service purification comes. It's automatic, but also it has to be conscious. And with that, sometimes I feel intimidated, and then I just tell myself that if I work hard for Srila Prabhupada, and if I just commit myself to Srila Prabhupada and I'm loyal to him, and I pray to him, perhaps a purification and that love will also come. So would this perception be correct, or how could I improve in this regard?
Yeah. Yeah, there are different aspects to purification. Probably the way I see it is there are 3 main aspects to purification. One aspect of purification comes from the engagement of one's external senses in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. So that means making a real effort with one's, with everything one has. Praner, arther, dhiya, vacha, shreya, acharanam sada, the Bhagavatam says. With your life, with your words, with your wealth, whatever you have, don't hold it back. Just offer it to Krishna. Then, so that is the effort part, that is the hard work, that is the engagement. And then the other aspect is the conscious, the contemplation, the reflection, the inner refining, the constant inner reorientation that am I doing this for Krishna? Am I thinking of Krishna? How can I do this with a greater quality of my heart? And then ultimately after that, it's mercy. Then we are just relying on mercy to make up the rest where we fall short. So I think it's all of those things. It's about working hard for Krishna, it's about making a sacrifice and going above and beyond the call of duty. And then it's about constantly trying to increase that inner quality, and then patiently waiting for the mercy of the Lord. And in that combination, the devotee has unbreakable hope. Hinartadika sadake tvaitatha pyacheda mula sati. Rupa Goswami says, I hope against hope. It's very interesting terminology. I wondered for a long time, what does that mean, hope against hope? There are many definitions, but the one which sits with me the most is that hope against hope means you have hope even when, really speaking, there's no reason to have any hope. Because that's how a devotee feels, like there's not really any reason why I should get Krishna's mercy, but I think I'll get it. Because Krishna is so kind. So then, I think, so anyway, I think I answered very generally, but something you will be able to, like the cock, find some good. I see many hands. I also was thinking if Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, Bada Hari Prabhu, Shastrinanda Maharaj, if you would like to say anything, if you would, there's no, if you would like to. If you would, any on just the subject in general, or anything, or add more than ask.
I must say I always have thoughts on everything, but I'm really in the mode to listen. I think you have thought very deeply about things, and it is very satisfying to hear and to ponder what you say. Would you, just because I'm so little slow, so 81, it's derived of 9 types of devotional service are there, types times 3 modes of nature. It brings us to 27, and then you quoted a verse that you can perform in each singular mode, either motivated by anger, envy, and a third thing. So that makes 27 times 3. Ooh, I'm so bad at
That's
mathematics.
81, yeah.
That's 81.
Yeah, that's 81.
There we have it.
There we have it.
But then you, then there was something else coming.
So these are the verses from the Bhagavatam which describe the devotional service in the modes. And what Sridhar Swami does is he highlights certain words, and he says these are categories within that mode. And he also says that they are in a hierarchy. So like, in this case, I can't remember which one it was, but like say for example, Krishna. So say for example, that devotional service in the mode of passion. So yasha, to want it for opulence and, for fame is like the middle. To want it for aishvarya, that's like somehow he sees that as a little higher. And he says that if you want vishayan, if you want sense gratification, that's the lowest. So somehow it's not explained exactly how he categorizes these, but he says, yes, there are 3 categories within each mode. Yes, that's an explanation. And then these multiply. So then if you look at those 9 categories, so those are the 9 broad categories. And then when you look at all so you could be doing archanam, you could be doing Matsarya Bhakti while doing archanam, he says. Envious devotional service. I guess that would be like, I don't know what that would mean. Maybe it means if you're worshipping the deity but you block other people, or you are envious that someone else will take your service, or that kind of mentality. you're worshipping the deity with a desire that, some harm will come to someone else or something like that, yeah. So it's useful because then we can identify different mentalities within how we're doing different things, different angas of bhakti. Maharaj, yes. Krishna Kshetra Maharaj.
I'm a little hesitant to take this in this direction, but on the other side I can't resist. It's on the subject of service, and I believe in the beginning of your wonderful talk you were saying how in Vrindavan everyone is serving. Some years ago I was in Vrindavan and I met with one very nice devotee, senior devotee, and we were discussing, and he asked me a question which I understood it was about a controversial matter amongst devotees, followers of Srila Prabhupada, having to do with the question of what is Srila Prabhupada's rasa. And I could understand he wants me to agree with him that Srila Prabhupada is in Madhurya rasa. And I didn't want to commit to that. And I said, well, my understanding is that all of the devotees in Braja are simply interested to assist and support the Adi rasa, which is Madhurya. So whether they themselves are identified in that way or they might be in some other relationship to Krishna, it might be Sakhya-rasa, for example, but all of the devotees are assisting, are somehow supporting that rasa. This devotee was not satisfied with my rather non-committal response, and I don't want to ask you to take sides on this, but this idea that everyone is engaged in service brings me to think about a point that's made about Lord Chaitanya's appearance. He seems to be feeling deprived of the opportunity to serve in Vrindavan. He feels the need to appear as a devotee so that he can experience what all the devotees of Braja are relishing. Can we say like that? Would you say, or am I oversimplifying things?
Can we say that Lord Chaitanya is feeling deprived of?
In a sense, deprived, as Dhanadhar Maharaj says, God has a problem, and his problem is that he has no devotion for God.
Yes,
so like
I think so. Yeah, that that is my understanding also. They say when you find a theology where the devotee cries for God, then you can understand this is a very advanced theology. If you find a theology where God cries for his devotee, then you can understand this is even more confidential. But if you find a theology where God becomes a devotee to cry for himself, then you can understand this is off the scale. So it seems as though, yes, this is a transcendental deprivation. Yes, I can't say more than that. Thank you. I'm looking at time and I think we can have more discussion. Thank you so much for allowing me to share something with you. It's nourished my understanding of the language of love, and please pray for me that I can develop some of these qualities. Thank you so much for your association. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande.